everybody. Welcome back, Smallville Lights. I'm working on, I don't know, Smallvillian, I don't know. It's a work in progress. Great to see you guys. How are you guys enjoying your day so far? Awesome. Here again for our for the 10th anniversary Smallville. We're so excited to have you guys here. Hope you're having an awesome time today, and hope you get a chance to be here again tomorrow. And so I'm very excited about our next two guests. So they may be less recognizable than some of the other guests that we've had up here, mainly because they tend to do more of their work behind the scenes or under the scenes or inside the scenes. And so I'm excited to bring you the aspect of what they do and what they bring to so many of these shows that we really love. And so you can see their work in productions like Endgame and Infinity War and Captain Marvel and The Mandalorian and many more. Let's please give a warm welcome for TaMara Woodard and Don Dillinger, everybody.
Hi, hello. That is loud.
That's all good. That's all good.
I'm gonna yell at you guys.
We'll fix it in post. It'll all be fine. So I want to sort of preface our conversation. I got a chance to talk to you guys a little bit earlier, and that with the actors, it's a little bit easier to sort of see the stuff that they've done or figure out what they've done. With some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, it's a little bit more difficult to sort of find who's done what and where. And talking to you both have had so many, kind of varied experiences of the different things that you've done over your careers. So TaMara, I'm going to start with you. When people ask, I work on these TV shows and movies and everything, and they're like, oh, that's amazing. What do you do? What do you say?
It's a very loaded question.
Yeah.
Depending on what company I've been working for at the time, what I'm tasked to do. A lot of times I build puppets, I build creature costumes, pretty much anything weird that you see on TV, I'm into building. I like to say that if it's just regular clothes, I'm not the person for that job, but if it's got 6 legs, I'm all about it. I can't make regular things to save my life, but if it's weird, if it's got fur on it, if it needs to walk backwards or be 10 times as big as it's supposed to be, I love those kind of jobs. So
if somebody says, TaMara, can you sew a dress for my, a regular dress for my child? No.
No.
If they want a freaky Halloween costume?
No.
Okay.
No. We all get you must be fun at Halloween.
Right.
Help me make this. And when you first start out and you just love making stuff, and now too, I really do love making stuff, but at a certain point, you do have to say no, or else that's all
sure.
you end up doing.
Right, yeah.
And you need to take a step back and make sure that your energy for being creative, kind of stays there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So there's so many different technologies and methodologies in making costumes and making props and making all these different kind of things. What kind of skills would you say you've had to learn over the years? Was it all stuff that you already had when you came in, or stuff you just had to learn on the fly sometimes?
Yeah, well, each job we do is a one-off basically, and we thankfully we get to learn off of our past failures and successes. But everything that you didn't get quite right, like for me, it gets my wheels turning. I'm like, okay, how do I get that better next time? So when I did first get into the industry, everyone's like, oh, don't bother doing practical effects because computer's going to take it all over, and didn't really believe that. And now that computers do so much of our jobs, we still have to provide practical effects and then make stuff for the computer departments to get information from. So we worked on Avatar, and everyone's like, oh, it's a fully computer generated film, but we worked for over 3 months building physical, practical things that the actors could interact with. So that technology kind of came in and just kind of changed a little bit of the trajectory, but we do so much practical stuff on Star Wars that we get to keep it practical from start to finish.
Yeah.
It's been really helpful.
Yeah,
and
Don,
if they didn't have CG, we couldn't do all of those creatures.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's so much stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's a nice marriage.
Yeah.
So technology has really helped, but then I like to pull out some old school techniques for, we like to grow a lot of things, like we'll grow maquettes, and then from that, like we have to make a really huge creature. They can have the whole thing milled out, life size, or they can give us a small, like 1/10 scale version of it, and we can pattern that. And then I pull out my old school projector and my transfer paper and draw out little mini patterns and then blow them up on a wall and Sharpie the patterns out, which is something that I just did recently. So
Yeah.
I like to keep the old school techniques in there.
I don't even know where you get one of those. It was the
I don't know.
overhead projector
Yeah.
like from school way back in the,
It's
the
old
80s.
school.
Yeah, when I'm a physics teacher, and so there's the Fresnel lens that's in those is kind of a cool little thing. So when they got rid of them, I just stole all the Fresnel lenses. I'm like, we can't go back. We're not going back to over a projector. So yeah, I did harvest a lot of those in there. Don, how about for you? You've done, worked a lot with TaMara on some of the similar things to what she's done.
Yeah.
But you've also done some of the more like stunt and physical work as well, right?
Yeah, I've been lucky to, well, when I first started, I was doing effects work. I would get laid off in between jobs, and I was like, oh, I should do stunts as a side, when I'm not doing this, I can do that. That was way easier said than done, because I found out you have to train nonstop for stunts and hustle all the time. And as I got busier with effects work, I just couldn't do that as much. So now I still get to be in creature suits and do stunts, or out of nowhere someone might call me and ask me to, do some stunt work, so I get to do that. But I'm not a precision driver, but somehow for a while there, I was doing a lot of precision driving. I was just in creature suits where you couldn't see anything. I think one of my hardest ones was a Nike commercial, and then we had a LeBron James puppet. And so it was really little like this, but they made a life-size one for me to wear, and then I had to get really low in the car, and it was a Bentley, and it was $200,000. And they were like, okay, so this car costs $200,000. And I was like, great. And then they set a camera up about 6 inches. I had to drive about 6 inches from the camera, and then I had some other pole here. So I had like 6 inches on each side, and I had to speed odd, slam on the brakes before I hit the puppets, and the guy's puppeteering in the ground. And I was just like, how'd I get to do this, and how'd I end up here? But yeah, so I get to do like stunts with all my suit work when I play creatures.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you guys have worked on a lot of different productions together, and individually, but also together. What are some of the movies or TV shows or things that you guys have worked on together?
Ooh, Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah, Jurassic Park 3.
That was the first thing.
Yeah, and then we did some time together at a company called ADI.
Yes.
And we worked on a movie called X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
We were supposed to
yeah.
we made the blob suit
Yeah.
for that, and we were supposed to go to Australia for 2 weeks, and ended up being there how long?
3 months.
3 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was a great place to be stuck.
Yeah.
I was like, they just kept wanting us to stay and do more stuff, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
And we've gotten to travel to Romania together on a
Yeah, we did a commercial in Romania.
Lots of local stuff in LA.
Ender's
all the
Game.
bands. Oh yeah, Ender's Game we did in New Orleans. That was fun. Yeah, she and I are a great team because we have similar interests, but we're still completely different. And when I'm grumpy, she's not, and when she's grumpy, I'm not. So we calm each other down. We compliment each other.
Yeah, it definitely helps.
That's awesome. And what you were talking, I think you guys have done some of the things where you have to be in a suit together. What's an example of something where you had to do that? Where you really have to be friends?
Oh, okay. So there's a couple things we've done. Mando season 3, there's a big creature guy. He's on the subway train. What do we call him?
The scene where Elia Kane and Dr. Pershing go onto
Yeah.
the subway, and there's just a big dude there with a beard, and she goes, "Tom's Day, am I right?" And he goes, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're shoved in that thing, and it was very hot.
Yeah, so we stuck a little fan in there. I did the head, you did the
I did
left
the
arm.
the grunty arm, and then we tried to stand. Neither of us are very tall, but they wanted him to like lurch and shrug. And he was on a big steel frame, so we're trying to like jam ourselves in there so that we could kind of lift him up. It was so hot. And the good thing is I have a really sensitive nose and she doesn't. So I'll always apologize when we're in tight quarters. I'm like, sorry if I start to stink. She's like, don't worry about it, I can't smell anything.
And then the bantha, we got to be inside the bantha. So we would sit back to back. And so I would do the head up and down.
Head up and down. It's on a...
And sideways.
Yeah.
And then what did your thing do?
So we were like a two-woman band in there. So her controller was a suspended rig with a T-bar. You could push and pull and spin a little bit. And then I had the jaw, which opened and closed and then kind of rotated. But then they also put bladders in the side so it could breathe. And those were done with a big latex bubble and a tube and a big bulb. So depending on what we were doing, I'd have the bulb in between my legs, and then my feet were dangling out the rear end of the bantha. There was kind of nowhere for my feet to be, but I was sitting in a chair, and then there's a bar, like a T-bar in front of me that I would push and pull and rotate to get them out to go. But at the same time, I'm like trying to do this with my knees to squeeze the bulb to get it to breathe, and that didn't really work, so I ended up like rigging the bulb over here, so I'm squeezing with that leg. So we're in there just going crazy, trying to get that
It's like
bantha
a
to look
rowing
alive.
machine and a thigh master all there together.
Yes, and we're just in there giggling.
It was really fun, actually. It was hot in there. It was fun. And then Mike would be on the outside doing his eyes or something.
He's one of the other members of the team who's integral to everything. And one funny story about being in the band, I would stay in there a lot because I'd kind of get locked into the back because it was hard to like.
You had to crawl in through the butt to get in there.
So sometimes if it was a really cold day and windy, I would just stay in there. And where we were shooting, there's a colony of bees that lives in an overpass, and on the walkie I hear, everyone clear the set, the bees are swarming. So I'm sitting in the bantha going, oh my God, please don't come in here. Please don't come in here.
Right.
The bees won't come in here.
Is it worse to stay in there and if they get in, or is it better to stay in there?
Right.
So
bees fear banthas is what I hear, but I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, they stayed out of the bantha.
yeah, so I was safe. No bees in the bantha. But
Because I think I was outside the bantha for a break, and then we talked to each other through headsets, and I think you were like, what'd they just say? What'd they just say? And I was like, don't worry about it, you'll be fine.
because I'm allergic to bees, so I'm like, I hear bees, and I'm like, oh.
Not the thing you expected to have to deal with on set.
No.
Was bees.
Those are the things that make the days fun, though.
Yeah. So when you get involved in a production for something, do you know, like right from the beginning, most of what you'll be doing, or is there a lot of stuff that's just adjusted on the fly? Like you're going to come in from Mandalorian, and it's like, okay, you're going to be doing X and Y and Z and ABC, or is it just kind of like we just need somebody here as we figure things out to sort of do stuff on the fly?
It's a
bit of both.
It's a little bit both. At first, they've got it figured out what we need to build. They give us the designs, and we do that. But then, as time goes on, all of a sudden they'll be like, "Okay, now we're building this character too," and you're like, "Oh, okay." And so you might start that after the other one, or you may never even work on that second one because you just don't have time. But
then when we go to set, Legacy has at times over 100 people that work in the shop, and not everybody can go to set. It's just logistically impossible. The shop has to keep running. The set can't handle that many people, support that many people. So they put a team together that we're a mix of all the different little types of work that we do. So somebody will have an answer for whatever might happen, whatever might crop up. We're a team that can handle it. And so we're ready to do stuff on the fly. We're all trained puppeteers. It's a little bit of everything. It's kind of whatever, just be ready for whatever happens.
yeah, and sometimes production will say, "Oh, we could. Do you guys have something like this?" And we'll be like, "No. Could you make one?" And we'd be like, "Okay. When does it need to be done by?" And so we'll be like, "We'll just make something sometimes out of nothing."
Yeah, we've pulled some really funny things
Out of your bantha.
Yes.
Right. So what kind of skills, so if I was a person, I said, that would be cool, I'd love to be involved in that. What are the kind of skills that a person would need to have to be able to do some of those things?
personal. I think an open mind. You know, honestly, an open mind to just be ready to have anything ridiculous thrown at you, and you're like, wait, what? That's impossible. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, and sometimes if you have the basics of some things, like you learn a lot on the job. I already knew how to sew, but I wasn't a great sewer. I was never taught, by somebody who is a professional, or I didn't go to school for that, but enough to get by. And then as time has gone on, I've gotten better at it, and
you kind of learn through each job. You learn a new skill, and what you don't know, somebody next to you will know about, so she, like, if something mechanically breaks, she loves to figure that out. I'm not, so she'll, like, if a tiny screw falls out, she'll be like, move over, give me that, if a battery needs to be changed, she's all into it. If something is ripping and needs to be sewn super, super fast, like season 1 when Mando and Cara Dune are escaping the, what was that, the house, what was that? It was like a bar. I can't remember what they called it.
One of the cantinas.
Yeah, cantina. And Mando leans over and he rips the couch out of the way to get to the grate. Brendan, the guy who was in the suit at that time, comes up to me and he whispers, "I'm feeling air in my armpit." And I was like, uh-oh. So I reached up under his cape, and his whole arm from reaching and pulling that couch away had ripped.
Oh, yeah.
And we had just started that scene, and this was season 1. It was like, oh no. We were taking care of the suit at that time. So I ran and got a needle and thread, and he just casually stood there talking to me. And we distracted him. People were just still, in between shots, everybody's doing something. So we just hurriedly, sewed it back up real quick, and before anybody noticed. And then it popped a few more times until we got that scene. So skills you need to have on the fly are just, even if you don't know how to sew, if you know the needle and the thread go together and you tie a knot at one end and you close that hole. And nobody knows it's there, you are good to go.
Right.
And there's other things, like those tags people put price tags on with, the clear thing.
Tagging guns.
You can close a lot of holes with those things.
And mud. If you guys remember the Mudhorn scene, when Mando was fighting the Mudhorn, and Lateef, our stunt guy, was skiing in the mud. That suit was falling apart because of the stunts that we were putting on him. And there was one hole that I was not going to get that one shut, so I just grabbed mud. Problem solved.
Yeah. It's
It
just trying to
has to
think on
look
the
good,
fly.
right?
Yeah.
It just has to be good for this shot.
Yeah, you can really fix it later at the end of the day, or so it's just being able to think on your feet. But then we have mechanics who really do mechanics. They do stuff I could never dream of doing.
A lot of the puppeteers on the team are the mechanical designers. So there's a guy who puppeteers Grogu. There's 2 guys that were the mechanical designers for him, and then sculptors, painters. So we try to keep a little, one person who's really skilled at something. So if anything pops up, they can repaint it overnight and all that kind of stuff.
But at the shop we have a mold department, a paint department, sculpture department, design department, fabrication, which is what we do.
Seaming.
Foam running room, which that's all those guys do. There's people who only run silicone.
There's hundreds of people involved, and that's just in our shop alone. Then everybody on the show, like the prop department, they have a whole prop shop. There's so many people that work on the show, and everybody just brings their A game to it.
Yeah, sometimes prop department helps us if we're in a bind, and we help them in a bind. So you help out whatever department needs help.
Right. Yeah, get the job done.
Yep.
Yeah.
You mentioned Grogu. So you guys have worked with, you guys do a little Groguing. How does that, the single most popular new character in Star Wars for the last however many years is definitely Baby Yoda, now Grogu. So tell us what you do. How do you work with Grogu? What does that work?
You want to start, or you want me to start?
Well, you can start with the designing stuff.
So my first job on The Mandalorian was, I was tasked with helping figure out how big he needed to be, what he needed to look like. I don't know if you guys saw the behind the scenes of his design process. He had went through many digital designs. They were trying to figure out what is he, what does he look like, why is that not cute, what makes things cute. So while they were figuring that out, they brought me a picture that was just kind of a lumpy little green thing, and they needed his body fleshed out, and what size was it gonna be? I don't know. So I just decided to make a kind of like a teddy bear shaped creature. I made it out of green felt, very Kermit-like, but it wasn't Kermit.
What was the little thing referred to as Yermit for a
Yes.
little while? Okay, I've
So,
heard that. It was like
yes.
Yoda and Kermit. It's like Yermit.
I was so afraid to tell that story because we're under such strict NDAs. You never know what you can say, what you can't say.
I
But
read this
as
I read this at the Jim Henson exhibit at a museum in Maryland that I was just in.
It made it that far?
So at least you're clear. I'll break that. I'm not
No,
under
no,
an
no.
NDA.
No.
I didn't hear this from you. Right?
I
This
did.
is some secure documents that I have in my house with my golf pants.
No, I did before, like recently I have gotten okay to say that. But yes, as I was building it, people would say, what are you making? Like, I don't really know. Is it Yoda? No, it's not Yoda. And this is just people walking by my desk. And I'm saying, well, is it Kermit? No, it's not Kermit. So he had two names. He had Noda, because it was not Yoda, and Yermit, because it was a mixture of Yermit and Kermit, or, Yoda and Kermit, because he was made out of green felt. But it had a round face with a Velcro patch on the front, and we printed out 3 different printouts, just paper on core board with 3 different size ears, sets of ears, to figure out how big did they want him to be, and how big did they want his costume to be, because in season 1 you'll notice his collar is really big, and at some points it's almost like he's hiding behind it, because they anticipated him hiding a lot and hiding the ears.
Yeah, it looked like
there.
a lot of turtleneck. Like it was, yeah.
Yeah, so basically what I did with that coat, or I call it a onesie, is, because we really, at that point, it was just like, here, do something. And this was my direction from the shop. It was, let's just get something on the dartboard, I like to say. So the digital designer that was on it at the time, Scott Patton, we talked about things, and he was like, Star Wars, the fabrics, just go pick out some stuff. And so I decided to make it like something that a larger size creature, human, whatever, had worn, and then had deconstructed, because we had no history of him, nothing. So I just built it as if it were a normal size, larger size coat that was deconstructed for this small little guy. So that kind of explained this big collar, because it would have fit somebody else. So they took that to a meeting, and the story that I got was that they put it in Favreau's arms, and he was like, that's it, this is the size, this is great. So the costume actually existed before the puppet physically existed. So then my boss came back and was like, okay, make that again so many times. But it was just a prototype. Normally when you make things for film, TV, whatever, you document everything because you have to duplicate it. This was just, I lawnmowered the thing in like 4 days, just like, okay, just to get something, thinking like, okay, well, we don't really like this color, we don't like this, just to get it started, and it ended up being what they liked. And so, yeah, that's how my involvement started. Sorry, I bogarted a lot of that time.
Fine.
Now we get to puppeteer him a lot. I'll let Dom take over.
So season 1, there's 4 main guys that puppeteer Grogu, and then there's times where when you need both arms, his eyes are moving, his ears, his head. It takes so many people that they would need 5 people, sometimes 6 people, and we were already on set, so they would be like, Dawn, TaMara, we need one of you to help us with this. So first season, a few times we each got called over to help puppeteer him, and then second season we got to do it a lot more because they started using him on 2 sets at once, because we have multiple puppets, and so then that's when we started to really feel like we got to puppeteer him a lot. And I'll usually do eyes, sometimes I've done ears, or sometimes I'll do a hand here, and TaMara, pretty much, those are the things that we do.
Yeah, they've split us up into 2 teams now that Grogu is riding around in IG-12.
Yes.
We've got different tasks.
Yeah, and so now sometimes it takes
even more
people. And then, there was something I was gonna say about, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you talk about controlling, is that all remote control?
Well, that's what I was
Yeah.
gonna say.
Yeah.
Eyes are with the remote control, and the ears and the head turning, but then in the mouth. But the hands are on rods.
Yeah.
So you're hiding somewhere. You're trying to stay out of the shot. You're just wearing all gray, so they can take you out of the shot later. And then obviously, and holding him up, his body rod. There's a big rod in his body to hold him up so that he's the right height.
Yeah. What you guys don't see is there's always somebody pretty much behind him. Unless he's sitting, then he's on a plate. But one of the guys, Mike Manziel, is pretty much in every scene.
Yeah.
But you don't see him because he's painstakingly CG'd out. But he's
Yeah.
in there.
Yep.
Shout out
And
Mike
he's one of
Manziel.
the biggest guys in the shop too, so that's kind of ironic that
Yeah.
they put the biggest guy to have to take out of all the shots.
But it is this interesting mix of practical effect and digital really combined together to kind of try to get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they did find out that he looked so good as a practical puppet, and when they would film it, that when they would try to CG stuff, they still couldn't get it exactly right. Something was just missing, and so they really try to do as little CG on him as possible now.
Yeah. And I think some of that is probably maybe a callback a little bit to Yoda
That helps.
being a practical, puppet, and having Frank Oz involved with that. And I think, if I remember right, TaMara, did you do some time working with Jim Henson with the Henson organization?
The Henson organization,
Yeah.
yeah. I was lucky enough to work on, the first thing I did with them was, I think it was the Country Bears. There was a commercial before that got me into the shop, and then I was on the Country Bears, and then Muppets Wizard of Oz, which was a lot of fun, getting to make Miss Piggy eyes, and we each got to make our own rat, because the rat gang grew in that era, so, and then got to work on Where the Wild Things Are, and everybody that knows me knows that the Dark Crystal and Labyrinth is my jam, and that's why I got into the industry, and the hugest Froud fan on the planet, and through just some really fortuitous events, I've become friends with the Frouds and taken courses with Wendy Froud as doll making courses, and I'm friends with their son Toby, and for years and years and years, it was always like, oh my gosh, and the Dark Crystal comes, if the Dark Crystal happens, we're all gonna work on it together, it's gonna be great. Cut to, Dark Crystal Age of Resistance starts coming down the pike again, and I start getting calls from Henson and Toby and everybody saying, you gotta come, and I had to say, I can't. And they did not understand why, and I wasn't allowed to say, as Baby Yoda and NDAs. And so I didn't work on the Dark Crystal. I got to enjoy it, amazing, but I had to wait a long time to let Wendy know, like, okay, I didn't get to come work with you on that show, and Wendy was one of the original people who worked on the OG Yoda, so I felt like it was kind of a full circle.
Yeah.
I got to get some training from her and learn a lot from her, and then get to work on little baby. So
Sorry I had to pass on that, but I was working on the character that every child wants a doll of in the world right now.
Yes.
So it's a good second. It's all right.
Yeah, but I loved my time with Henson, and it was one of the best. Yeah, it was just a really, really magical time, especially when you grow up working with the Muppets and then realize that, or watching the Muppets, and then you realize you get to work with them, and it's the Muppets. It's not like they have 50 Kermits. They might have that now, but at the time,
Right.
it was, here, make this Miss Piggy green for Muppets Wizard of Oz, but don't make her too green because we got to turn her back into a real Miss Piggy afterwards.
Have to bleach her back to pink. I'm not sure how that's gonna work, guys.
At Legacy, we had to do something for one of the movies, and they sent over the Fozzie head, and I was so excited when we unpacked the Fozzie head, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is really Fozzie. It was like seeing your favorite star.
Yeah.
I remember the first puppet that I got to work on refurbing was Camelot Chicken. And it's so hard to keep your cool, because you're like, the real things.
Kind of made the beaker sound there.
Sorry, but yeah.
That's what I always ask people. I often ask movie stars and stuff when I'm doing panels about who have you been starstruck to meet, but no one's ever said Fozzie, and so that's great. That's a first time. It's always great to have a first experience. I'm gonna get out here in case anybody wants to ask any questions. How many different Grogu are there? Are you allowed to give troop strength numbers? I don't know if that's secret.
Well, depends on what the scenes are. We definitely have one that we call the hands-free puppet, and when you see people carrying him and he's not like an extreme close-up, or if he's riding on a speeder bike or getting punched by a stormtrooper. Yeah, that one might have been the prop one.
Yeah, but
yeah, we've got the hero one.
The hero one has more mechanical stuff that it can do, and so the hands-free doesn't do quite as much, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, it's very close. The hero one has an umbilical cord and a big rack with all the servos and stuff on it. So
it's more different ones to do different kinds of jobs as opposed to as it is just extras that we have lying around, like grab
exactly.
Grab one of the 17 extra Grogus and do whatever you want.
Yeah. I will say that the prototype one that I made got turned into a tumbling Grogu in Boba Fett when they get knocked out of the carriage on the chase scene or whatever, and you see him.
We call it the bowling ball. Grogu.
So yeah, it got taken apart, a nice head and hands put on it, and I put a big weight in the middle of it, and you can fling it like a bowling ball. I don't know where that one is now.
So technically there's like 3.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
That's awesome. Big question right here.
Yes, Dawn, I think I saw The Shape of Water in your IMDb.
Yes.
Can you tell us about working on that? What did you do?
I got to do all of the fabrication on the actual suit that Doug wore.
So Doug Jones, who
Yes.
a lot of you guys may also know from Star Trek
Discovery.
Discovery was in there and in The Shape of Water. Yeah.
Yeah, and we work with Doug a lot. I've worked with him on The Watch. Oh my gosh, I can't even think what else. Just tons.
My first thing with Doug was Tank Girl way back in the day.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
And just, I mean, such an amazingly kind. Like you will not meet
yeah.
a nicer person than Doug Jones.
Nope.
Yeah.
You will not.
That is true.
Nobody will squeeze your cheeks and give you love like Doug Jones.
He's a hugger too. He's definitely a
Love for
hugger.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was with him, I didn't get to go to set for The Shape of Water, so I didn't get to see how all of that went down. But in the shop, I got to we made his foam latex suit, and we had to figure out how to make a space in the back so there could be batteries and there could be all these things that live in there, but then when it closes up, it has to, you can't see a seam or anything like that. That's kind of common with us, but it's always different every time, so it's just really hard to figure out how to make something open up and then close back together like you can't even see anything that's wrong.
And go in water.
Yeah, and it had to go in
my
water,
gosh,
so
right.
you couldn't just glue some things. We had to glue stuff and stitch it just to make sure it would last. And I've worked with Doug on other things to where sometimes when we put people in foam latex suits, sometimes you can get them in by, you put baby powder inside the suit so it can slide on their legs easier because they're very tight. And then other times it's so tight you have to put KY jelly all over their legs and their arms so that they can actually put the suit on. And so with Doug, we had these microwaves. We'd microwave for like 20 seconds, KY jelly, and we'd lather him up, and then we'd start, squirming on his legs, and then he'd hold onto our shoulders, and he'd just start jumping while we just pulled his pants up. And so,
He's very tolerant. You can do a lot to him.
yeah. So
Well,
at least we could do is heat it up.
Yeah, he's had so many roles where he has hours of putting on stuff, and yeah. Well, even in Hellboy, he kind of played, Abe, who kind of was a somewhat
Very
similar
character.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, got another question here.
How has the writer's strike impacted your work?
Oh, so the writer's strike put a lot of things on hold that we were actually working on in the shop. And so there was a point where they laid everybody off because they can't afford to keep us working doing nothing unless they're getting paid. And then slowly we were able to come back into the shop because we have commercials. And so the commercials have been really helping us out right now.
Yeah, there's different contracts, so some things you definitely can't work on, but some things aren't affected by that particular strike that's happening. SAG is about to strike potentially, and the
Yeah.
DG I think they just ratified, they came to a conclusion yesterday.
Yeah, so it has slowed things down, and when it does finally end, we're gonna be ridiculously slammed to where we can barely keep up with everything, I think.
Yeah, so we're all resting right now and doing all the doctor's appointments and things that you're supposed to do to take care of yourself, but we never do because we're always working too much.
Yeah.
I had a question about Grogu. So I imagine when you're working with the director on site, there's probably a lot of detail and planning that actually goes into the physical blocking of Grogu, just because there's so many people who are manipulating him.
Yes.
But, it sounded like, you also have the ability to move his eyes and his ears and his head and his arms. So how much direction do you get when you're trying to create those emotions for the character? Like, do you get kind of full freedom to be able to do what you want to really get that expression, or do you guys have to plan it as a team? What does that process look like?
Well, we get direction from the director. A lot of times we get as close to the director as we can, so we can hear what he's saying, and sometimes he'll, say it straight to us. And other times they just let us play with it and figure it out on our own.
Yeah, it depends on what the scene is calling for. If it's
Yeah.
a really intense scene, like if it involves walking or any of his training or anything, the guys who are on the body
They have
will
to
really rehearse
yeah.
that. And we're all talking to each other on comms or listening to whoever's kind of taking the lead for that scene. Within the scene, we'll get to play, whoever's turning the head. If they want the eyes to follow or lead, they'll usually say, okay, I'm going to turn the head to the right at this point, that kind of stuff. If it's a funny scene, they'll usually just let everybody riff.
Yeah.
Because you kind of just get into a zone, and it's weird. It just all clicks together, and he just starts moving on his own, basically.
So that first take too, sometimes you're like, ooh, that didn't work.
Yeah.
And you're like, I won't do that again, at least with what I'm doing. And then you'll talk to the other person and go, okay, are you gonna move your head like that again? Okay, if you do that, can you say something, and then I'm gonna do this with the eyes. And so we'll work it out then. But the first couple times, sometimes it's like a little rehearsal.
Yeah. Our AD likes to call the first take of anything a pancake, because the first pancake never really looks right. It still tastes good, but it never, always comes out looking a little funny.
Yeah.
So we get a few pancakes.
Have you watched the show or other things you've done with friends and I did that, that's me on the eyes?
With family, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, right.
Family.
Not going to the movie
'Cause they'll be
theater
like,
and
"What did
hey
you do?"
everybody,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take you out of the scene here and just point out some of my work.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And they'll go, what did you do on this? Okay. And so they're like, well, just tell us when you do it. And you're like, so then you're sitting there like, okay, there.
I'm
See
right
that? You did that. Or then, yeah.
I can tell when my brother and sister-in-law are watching it, because I'll just start getting texts from my sister-in-law saying, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do this? And I'll just be like, okay, hang on. Just have to wait until she was done with her volley of things. Be like, no,
That's
yes.
awesome.
Hi, so there's a clip where Grogu moves he's floating or jumping from one side on our screen to the other, and it kind of just looks like somebody just tossed the puppet. I was wondering if you could tell us about that, what went into just making it just because if it's top heavy, I'm sure it's going to want to start to bob down, or maybe it's bottom heavy.
It's interesting because that's usually Mike and Jason
Yeah.
that are doing that. And sometimes they'll find out about a scene before, and if they have any downtime during the day, they'll go in our room that we have there where we keep everything, and they'll start figuring that out and figuring out how to rig it, because you can rig it a different way to make it do all kinds of things, but it's always something you haven't done before, so they have to figure out the rigging with all the rods until it works. And then sometimes they get out to set and they change it anyway, and so they're like, oh, everything we just figured out, it's not gonna work now.
Yeah.
So that scene where they were jumping,
they when he was training and jumping around and stuff, they can rig it so it's on like a long pole, you know, with the handle on the end, so they can jump him around that way. They can spin him on that pole. It really just depends on what the director's asking for at the time.
And then the more they would have to do by the end, you could tell they'd be like, their arms are getting really tired because the longer that rod is, the harder it is to do. And so you could tell by the end, they're just like, oh, this is the last one.
Yeah. In season 3, though, Mando did throw the baby to Carl, right? So you were like, when he was escaping the IG.
That's right.
Yeah, because we were happy that Carl caught him.
Oh, yeah. Thank God he'd played
Gave everybody a
football.
little bit of start. If you're going to throw a puppet like that to anybody, it should be to Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
Good hands, Carl, yeah.
Of everything you guys have done, what's one time, good memory where you were laughing so hard at something that messed up that you guys just couldn't stop laughing, but it kind of kept rolling and clicked in place well?
Oh.
Gotta be some bloopers.
There's a couple. Yeah, I'll start with my two. There was one day, Lateef is the stunt double Mando, and he had to jump into a cart.
Oh, yeah, the cart.
And he had to catch the baby, or he had to do something with the baby. I can't remember what it was. But he accidentally threw it in the air, and it went flying. And luckily, this was just a stuffed animal type Baby Yoda, and
but all you hear
is the baby, the baby. He starts screaming as he's flying through the air, and so I couldn't stop laughing on that.
That was in season 1 when Mando is trying to escape all the bounty hunters in the cart, and he runs and he does a flip, like he jumps in the air and spins and lands in the cart, and in that spin the baby. Launched.
Oh yeah. And then we got to puppeteer the mouse droids.
Oh.
And it was fun because they kind of just took us to the side to puppeteer this. It was on second unit. So it was basically just us puppeteering that and an R2 droid. And these little droids, mouse droids, were so fast and so out of like crazy the way you could control them. And so as we're doing it, you'd forget which one was yours, and you'd think you're driving this one, and it's going this way, and you realize, oh wait, that's mine over there. And so we were all running into each other and running into walls, but it was just so funny that we were just laughing, and we got better at it as the day went on. But it was just so fun. It was like derby with those things, and we were like, this is like the best day I've ever had on set.
I have a little different memory of it because we were shooting in a hallway that was shaped like a T, and I don't know if you remember in season 3 when R5 is in the hallway and the mouse droids drive by and then back up and then they come out and they start pecking at him. So they wanted to do that all in one take. So I'm back with a lineup in the hallway of the mouse droids, lining them all up, and they have to drive forward. From my perspective, they have to drive forward, or one of them has to drive out, drive back, and then drive out, and then they have to go around the corner to where R5 is. Well, all the puppeteers are out by R5, not being able to see where their droids are starting. And so I'm having to catch the droids and turn them around and aim them in the right direction so that they can all cluster up and go back out to attack R5. Well, those suckers come in hot. So they come roaring over, and I had another PA with me trying to catch them, and they're big and they're fast and they hit your shins. So the tops would bounce off, so I had to catch them and flip them around and try to put them in an order, and it was just chaos. Absolute chaos.
Yeah, it felt like chaos that day, but it was fun for me.
My funniest story like that, though, isn't Star Wars related. It was on the very first Iron Man, where we had built the successful Iron Man suit, and the first day that we shot with him on set was a day with the Mark III, and Iron Man, he comes out of a pit he's just survived an explosion. So we have the stunt guy in the pit, and they put all this debris on him, and we turn the eye lights on, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is epic. This is the first time everyone's getting to see his eye lights and his chest light, and he stands up out of the pit, and somebody had placed a little 2x4 right on his head. And he stood up perfectly majestic and heroic in that 2x4, just balanced. and teetered, and then started to slowly spin like a little propeller. And he didn't know what was going on, but we were on the outside just cracking up. We're like, oh my God, I hope that shows up somewhere on a blooper. Because he literally just came out so majestic and amazing with a little boop, boop, propeller on his head. That one was a good one.
To each of you, if it's different, what is the best thing that you have ever created?
Okay. I loved all of the things that I got to build for Narnia, but I have to say Black Chrysanthemum in Book of Boba Fett is one of the things I've been most proud of. Because I did most of the fabrication on that, and I was so nervous about it, and I was like, I knew he was gonna have to be right.
And for those of you who don't know, that's the Wookiee.
Yeah.
That's the bounty hunter Wookiee who's like Chewbacca.
Yeah.
But literally meaner and everything. Yeah.
He's a fighter,
Yeah.
and he's got black fur with some gray in it. And so took him on set to, get the pre-approval by John and all of those guys and Robert, and then, they have to nitpick a little bit, and so you go to fix that stuff and everything. So I was just glad it was only like one or two things that I had to change. And then for it to go on to set and have the crew see it, I was like, oh God, I hope everybody likes it, And just hearing everybody's reactions when he walked on set, I was just so excited.
Yay.
So I was very proud.
That's awesome.
That's a really tough question. I remember the feeling that I kind of just described when we turned the eye lights on Iron Man the first time. That was a real moment that got me. Grogu right now is just really, really special. There's some stuff coming up that in the shows that are about to be released that I'm very proud of. One of the things that I got to make, I actually got to pick up and carry the way I wanted to pick it up and carry and snuggle it, and that moment will stay with me. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You'll see it in one of the new shows coming out. If you watch the Ahsoka trailer, it might be in the Ahsoka trailer. I love that thing that's coming up.
Yeah,
and
it's
I'm very
pretty
proud of
cute.
that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm ready. Now I'm primed for that. Yeah.
I was just wondering what you both did, what your contributions were for Alien versus Predator films.
Oh, we got to make aliens, and we got to make predators, and we got to work on the Queen Alien. That was fun.
Best Queen Alien story ever. Finishing putting that thing together, sewing the neck on. That thing is huge. Going to lunch, walking back from lunch to see our bosses and the mechanics being very quiet, staring up at it, watching hydraulic oil pour out of its neck. And if anybody knows anything about foam latex and hydraulic oil, it turns into an instant bubble gum. And we had just done so much work to get that neck on there and closed up. And that was the day part of my soul died a little bit.
Yeah, you just look at it and you're like, but we just finished that, and it was so much work.
Yeah. But yeah, we made, for AVP, the first one, I feel like we made like 15 Predators and 30 alien suits. I mean, we were just cranking those things out.
Yeah, we had like an assembly line, so, because for our fabrication stuff, we would have a checklist on everything, and you would just be like, all right, here's one, do all the stuff on the checklist, okay, go grab the next one, do all of, zippers in, check, it's
I
like,
think that's one reason that Donna and I like to work together as much as we do, because we're old school. We'll put we'll get our Sharpies out, we'll make an old school checklist, none of this computerized Excel stuff. We're just like, get out the ruler, okay, here's our list, we have to make 50 of these, go.
yeah. And I like to get in a rhythm of something and just like bust through it and work really fast.
Yeah, so we did that. We also, on the first AVP, we had to figure out how to do the netting, because we made one suit for Ian, but then they were gonna take the suits, I think they were shooting in Prague, I can't remember where they were shooting, and put them on different people. So the netting had to fit the suit and not, we couldn't just use fishnet, which is what they originally used, like just some fish netting. So we sourced some elastic and we made a grid and we just hand tied all the netting into the actual pieces of the shape of the Predator so that it actually fit, so that you wouldn't see like a non-stretch material with crazy knots in it everywhere, because that would really bulk it up. So that was something that was really fun to figure out and do.
It tied a lot of netting.
Yeah, tied a lot of netting.
Put my headphones on and I would just be like, okay.
I can imagine it's almost like sort of sending your kid off to the first day of school. You've made this thing and then you have to send it out. You've got to trust that everything's going to happen okay.
Especially if
and
you're
then
not
sometimes
there.
it comes back at the end of the day and you've got to, okay, we're going to have to put this child back together again to go back to school tomorrow.
Well, and it's like when you send it off and you don't go to set with it, you're really like, well, if this fails, it'd be my fault, but I could fix it there. But if it fails now, somebody else has to fix it.
Yeah, for those shows, we tried to, pardon the term, we tried to idiot-proof it a lot because one of the guys going on the show was severely colorblind. So we normally tag things, you know, a suit will go together, but it'll have a lot of pieces, parts that have to stay together. But at the end of the day, they always get mixed up while stuff's getting dried or cleaned or whatever. So we went out and sourced all these different shapes and colors of, or like graphic designs of ribbons and stuff, and so tagged everything with different, like this one has stripes, this one has checks, this one has this one has that, so that everyone can keep it together. So we try to make it as easy as possible.
But I will say because I was so proud of Black Chrysanthemum, on the day he wrapped, the guy who had done the mechanics in the head, we dressed him and we go, Carrie, we need to get a picture. We just finished. And I go, I feel like our kid just graduated from college or something. I go.
And my kid's just a giant Wookiee, but still, you can't control that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so sorry this has been so much fun, but we do have to wrap up. But you can go ahead and talk to TaMara and Dawn at their booth over in the main hall, and you guys will both be here tomorrow as well. So definitely come over. I know they've got some pictures with Grogu. If you want to get an autograph, they would be happy to do that. So let's give a big round of applause for Dawn and TaMara, everybody.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome, everybody. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of today. And hopefully you'll be back tomorrow.
And Jeff.
Oh.